Hello lovely people, how are you all today? Are you well? I sincerely hope so. I'm having a bit of an indoors day today because once again our weather is it's been drizzling all day and chilly, and I'm hoping you can actually see me because although it's the early afternoon, it's so dark. Anyway, there's something about these kind of days which just makes me want to get cosy and get doing things. No, I'm not cooking today. I'm making presents again. Yay! I'm so loving making presents. So today I'm going to make Calendula Balm. So if any of you remember way back in the summer, I did a video about how to make a cold maceration of calendula oil. So what I'm going to do today uses the calendula oil that's produced after 6 to 8 weeks of a cold maceration. You can do a hot maceration, look it up online. But also for this, I've got a tickle, also for this you could just use straight almond oil. It doesn't have to be calendula. The reason I'm using the calendula oil is for its lovely healing properties. So I'm actually making this today for 3 different people, 3 different friends, all of whom have a bit of eczema. And it's believed, now I don't have eczema, so I've never tried it for that, so I can't vouch for it myself, but it's well documented that calendula oil, calendula balm can help with eczema and things like nappy rash. I know a lot of mums who've used it for their babies' bums and it's worked a treat. So let's get on with things. I'm going to show you the ingredients, as it were, but also a little bit of my equipment. So if you want to do this at home, you'll know the sorts of things you need. Please don't worry that there's a lot of stuff here. It's going to cost a fortune. Individually, these bits don't cost a huge amount. And so much of it you'll use again and again and again, because once you've made one lot of balm, you'll want to make loads and loads. So if you think about how much you spend on presents for friends over the year, you know, how much does a pot of balm cost in the shops? £5 plus. So you're going to make it for the equivalent of pennies. That's not to say you're a skinflint and being mean to your friends. It just means that you're making it with love instead of money. Okay. Let's have a look at the kit. Okay, like I say, please don't be alarmed by the sight of all this. There's a little bit for some more maceration later and a bit for the balm. So, just to recap, if you didn't see the maceration, I'm going to make another one today. So I've just got empty jar. I use Kilner jars, jam jars, anything like that. I've got a load of calendula petals saved from last summer. I've got about maybe 2.5 jars left. So, like I say, this is just a recap on making the maceration. I'm going to put my petals in here. Oh, it's going to be messy. We like a bit of mess. To about halfway. So, hang on a sec, let's change hands. About halfway. And I'm now going to cover them with almond oil. You can use other oils, but I like almond oil because it's just so good for the skin. Is that covered? Pretty much. They will settle down. So, hoopla! So once you've got your oil covering them, pop the lid on. Now that will just go into a warm place, just corner of the kitchen, and will sit for about 6 to 8 weeks. In the summer I find it does a bit quicker, sort of about 6 weeks, just because it's warmer and I put it in a sunny window. I cover it in brown paper so it doesn't affect the oil, but it goes a bit quicker. I get through masses and masses of this oil, so pretty much as soon as one's done and ready, I start the next one, which is what I've done today. So now we can get those bits out of the way, and you needn't worry about buying them for this little project. So we've got around the back, this is, you see, that's the infused oil that I've had on the go for the last, I think it's had about 7 weeks. All I've done since early this morning, I've just poured the whole thing through a bit of muslin to strain, so that's my oil ready to use. That's my number one ingredient. I've also got beeswax. So I buy it in bulk because it does work out much cheaper, and if you're making lots and lots of things, go for bulk. It is expensive, this kind of size, but what you could do is, if you've got other friends, you know, either plot friends or, you know, friends from a social group, your church group, whatever, you could always buy a big one and then divvy it out amongst you, and it makes it much cheaper. And the last ingredient is some coconut oil. So that's your three main ingredients. You've got your almond oil, which has been infused with the calendula for 6 or 7 weeks, some beeswax and some coconut oil. You can also add to this any essential oil of choice for the scent. So because I'm making this for friends to put on their bits of eczema, I'm just going to add a little bit of lavender oil because that's really skin soothing as well. I use this basic recipe to make hand cream for my poor gnarly nurse hands, and if I was doing it for hand cream, I'd probably add things like geranium, ylang ylang, orange, all those really lovely smelly flowery scents. So that's your ingredients. Then what other kit do you need? So we're going to do this on the stove over a pan of boiling water. So I've got this little double boiler. It's a really, really handy little thing, you'll see in a second. It just hooks onto the pan so that the bottom of it sits in the simmering water. So it's working like a bain-marie. This is relatively new to me. I used to do it with an old Pyrex bowl balanced, which worked perfectly well as well. Well, it worked perfectly well until I dropped my Pyrex bowl and smashed it. The nice thing about this one is it's got a slight pouring lip, so when you've finished, easy to pour. I also have my little set of cups. As you'll be familiar, when I do cooking, I tend to do everything by sight for volume or amounts rather than weights, and cups are relatively new to me. I've been using cups for about 3 or 4 years, but I love them. It just simplifies everything. So for this recipe, we're basically going to be using 1 part oil, half a part coconut oil, and half a part beeswax. So I'll use a half cup, quarter cup, quarter cup. I'll show you properly as we're doing it. The other thing I've got, which has proved dead useful over the years, is my little set of funnels. I'm so cat-handed. If I was trying to pour oil from this into a tiny necked bottle like that, I would have it all over the place. So that's why I have, clatter clatter bang, that's why I have my lovely little funnel set. It makes life so much easier. So if you want to have a go, you could use a Pyrex bowl instead of a double boiler, but you could get a double boiler for sort of 5 or 6 quid. I think the set of funnels was 3 or 4 quid. So there would be an initial outlay if you were getting everything in one go. Where you can save money is what you put your balms into. So, I don't know if any of you are familiar with Neal's Yard. It's the telltale blue of Neal's Yard. Such a beautiful blue and great for preserving oil. Basically, if ever I'm given a gift of cream or potions, lotions, whatever, whenever I've finished with them, I always scrub out the pot and use it again. So that's cost nothing. Because I'm making so many gifts at the moment, I did invest in some bottles I managed to buy online. The bottles and the lids came separately. I think they worked out about 50p each, which again, for a gift, it's not too much. What I wanted to avoid was plastic lids, and eventually I did manage to find a company that did these little metal lids to go on. So that's cost money. But for a gift, I don't mind. If it's just for me, I'll use something recycled. This is another bit of recycling, and I love them. These are those little dinky, you know, you get jam pots or pots of marmalade when you go and stay at a bed and breakfast, or if you go out for high tea, posh tea somewhere. So, oh gosh, I've had these for ages. I think about a year ago, me and some of my nurse pals went out for high tea one afternoon, and each of us ended up with a pot of jam. So of course at the end of the session I snappled all the little pots, and these are great size for this balm because this balm lasts ages. It's one of those where you hardly have to use any, so a little pot that size, oh, it's going to last you months. Brilliant. So that's our kit and caboodle. Let's get on and make some balm. So I've set the pan on the stove to come to the boil. I will turn it down to just a gentle simmer because we are not cooking this. We are simply warming it to melt it together. So I'm going to take a 1/4 cup of beeswax. In it goes. Sorry, I'm doing it the wrong way so you can't see. Now this is where it gets sticky and messy and fun. We're going to have a 1/4 cup of coconut oil. You could, if you're being super duper luxe about this, you could half and half the coconut oil with some cocoa butter. But I found that cocoa butter, organic cocoa butter, is really expensive, and it's hard to justify. I've done it occasionally, but like I say, hard to justify. So, sorry about the clank. 1/4 cup of beeswax, 1/4 cup of coconut oil, now 1/2 cup of almond oil that has been infused with our beautiful calendula calendula petals. In that goes. Let's just get rid of these things because they're dripping and sticky. Just while that comes to the boil, I might as well quickly bottle up this portion of leftover calendula oil. See what I mean now about needing the funnels. This is just such beautiful oil for your skin. This is pretty much all I ever use on my skin. So what I'll probably do in a minute, I'll go through all my essential oils and I'll decide what kind of smell I want to smell like this month. Add my little drops. There's probably only about 100 mils there, so I'll probably only add 5 drops of essential oil, but I will do that later when I've decided which oil to use. Now, with this, I'm not going to add the essential oil yet, because that heat, I don't want to evaporate all that beautiful oil. So, are we ready on the stove? It's getting warm. I'll give you a close-up look at this so you can see how the oil is working. Hang on a tick. So you can see how this, can you see underneath? It just sits in the warm water, the hot water, and gradually all those lovely ingredients will start to melt together. I will give them a stir at some point. I've just got some little wooden spatulas I use for stirring. I've tried stirring with a spoon, and all that happens is you get a wax-coated spoon that becomes a bit defunct for using as cutlery. So I use my little wooden spatulas, and then the little wooden spatulas get saved and become plant labels. So not chucking anything away, but not gunking up all my kitchen bits and pieces. Actually, it's worth saying, if you get into doing this sort of thing, if you're really enjoying it, it is worth having almost like having a set of everything else that's separate just for your home brewing, home cosmetic making, etc. Because things do get a bit oily and a bit sticky. Right, hobble bobble, we'll give it a couple of minutes. It will probably take about 5-10 minutes for all your ingredients to completely melt together, and then Oh, it's so beautiful, lavender. It's time for the fun. So I'm just going to add 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 drops of lavender to that. Quick little oh, I've got calendula petals stuck to my stirrer. Quick little stir. Ready to pot up. So I hope you're going to be able to see this because I'm going to have to be right-handed. All I've done with my little jars, I will talk about them not needing to be sterile in a minute. Let me concentrate. They've been in hot water just so that when the balm gets poured in, oh, you can't see, let me see if I can do it backwards. It's not going to, hopefully, it's not going to shatter the glass. Oh, lovely little pots of nectar. It's almost nectar, isn't it, with all the beeswax. Do I need another pot? I need another pot. I'll find another pot. So for now, I'm just going to put that back over the warm water so it doesn't start to set. So, here we are at this stage. Where are you? There. Looks like a little shot in a glass, doesn't it, of goodness. I'm not going to lid them up yet. I'm going to just let them cool and then we'll have a look when they're done. Just in terms of the jars, they don't need to be sterile. They're just clean. All the ingredients are relatively shelf stable. We haven't added any water, for instance. So because of the stability of the ingredients, we're all right not sterilising. Now, as these are gifts for friends, I like to use these little kind of old style luggage tags. So on one side I can write my message of what it is and why I've made it for them. Then on the back I usually write a use by date. So in terms of the use by date, check your 3 ingredients, see which one is the earliest to use. So for example with this, my beeswax and my coconut oil are good for a couple of years. My almond oil, it said use before February 2019. So I'll use that as my use by date. Use by February the 19th because that's when the first ingredient will basically go off. Hopefully these will get used up before then. Right, let's let them cool and come back and have a look when they're finished. So, there we have it. What could be more cute than a little pot of gorgeous calendula balm with a wee hint of lavender. You've seen that's so easy to make. And like I said, if you didn't have any calendula petals and if you can't be bothered to wait for 6-7 weeks for the calendula to infuse, just do it with almond oil. 3 simple ingredients, maybe some essential oil, a few minutes of your time, and a lovely wee prezzy for a special friend. So go on, have a go, yay, and have fun having a go. For now I'm going to say cheerio, slather myself in some of the leftover balm, and go and chill out for the rest of the day. Hope you're managing to find some lovely things to get up to on the dreary days when it's too hard to be outside. I'll see you all again soon. Take care for now and enjoy making some balm.